What makes a video game compelling? Depending on the player, they might answer in a number of ways. An engrossing narrative, clever puzzles, entertaining characters, responsive controls, or freedom of choice all come to mind. What sets games apart from other forms of media is their mechanics, and the best games have strong mechanics at their core. Most use variations on a handful of central mechanics, but any system requires several components working in tandem to function efficiently. One of my former game design instructors likened this to multi-track editing in audio programs, many distinct voices weaving together to highlight each and create a complex, cohesive whole. Few games demonstrate this harmony so clearly as Portal. To discuss Portal's masterful mechanic design, we must first define what a game mechanic is. For our purposes, a mechanic is a fundamental action or obstacle which the player can act on or react to. In short, the rules and components of the game. This includes everything from basic assumed functions like movement and enemies to systemic attributes, such as Fire Emblem's weapon triangle or Persona's persona fusion. These mechanics do not have to be explicitly indicated. Many which are rigorously in-depth or based on chance are not. However, as a puzzle game which relies on the player's understanding of each component, Portal provides clear opportunities to build on their innate knowledge whenever a concept is introduced or redefined. The game begins with the player locked in a glass box while an opening narration plays. For this first minute, all they can do is move, look around, and pick up the couple of objects sitting in the room. This allows them an opportunity not only to acclimate to the unfamiliar, sterile environment, but to get a feel for the game's basic movement before anything is required of them. The narration ends with the opening of a portal, positioned such that the player can see themselves on the other side. It's an immediate, non-verbal indicator of what portals are and how they work, and the player must move through it to proceed. A short hallway curves around to Test Chamber 0, the first and simplest test chamber. This chamber is merely a small room with a button and a cube dispenser, first a problem, then its solution. The cube is delayed by a few seconds, giving the player time to step on the button and see that it opens the door ahead, but must remain pressed for the door to remain open. When the cube falls to the ground, its movement and associated sound signify that it has all the weight necessary to hold the button down. Notably, this is the only place in the game which completely lacks portals. They fade out just long enough to give pickup mechanics the spotlight. Test Chamber 1 ramps things up just a little bit by reintroducing portals. The chamber is divided into 4 separate rooms by glass panels, one containing a cube, one a button, and one the exit door. The player starts in the central room, with one portal on the back wall and the other shifting between each of the outer rooms. While simple, this redefines portals in one crucial sense: they can move. By starting the portal in the button room, Chamber 1 once again shows the player the problem before providing a solution. Like Chamber 0 before, Test Chamber 2 fades one mechanic out to free our focus for a new one, the first iteration of the portal gun. As a central mechanic and the only tool consistently in the player's arsenal, it is crucial that the player masters it. With the second instance of moving portals and a window overlooking its pedestal, its purpose is clear before they can even access it. All the player needs to do is grab the gun and use it exactly once, but the room provides ample space to get a feel for it before continuing. At this point, I'd like to introduce the chart. This diagram shows each of the mechanics introduced thus far and when they appear, including a column for the brief intro before Chamber 0. The lighter rows with italicized text are sub-mechanics or extensions of the darker rows above them, such as pre-placed portals and the portal gun below portals as a whole. Blue circles indicate that a mechanic was significant for the puzzle or otherwise mentioned, in the case of the Emancipation Grill in Chamber 0, which we'll talk about later. Orange circles with the Aperture logo indicate that something about that mechanic was significantly redefined or clarified at that point. For instance, Chamber 1 introduced the concept that pre-placed portals, and portals in general, could move, significantly broadening their functionality. With that taken care of, let's discuss how Chamber 3 clarifies movement. Test Chamber 3 picks up where 2 left off, continuing to help the player acclimate to the portal gun. The gun and the redefinition of movement are deeply intertwined because the first thing they see is a pit. In most games which allow it, particularly platformers, a pit is a telltale sign to jump. However, this chamber demonstrates that the player can't hurdle obstacles like Mario or Sonic can. Instead, they must use the portal gun to cross 2 pits in succession, and don't even need to jump to get through. By the time the player reaches the exit, they've completed a crash course on moving with portals, and are thus ready to start combining the portal gun with other mechanics. Portal's first 4 test chambers have already introduced a substantial number of mechanics and interactions with the game world, enough that an entire game could focus solely on those seen here. We've established the basics, and they'll only continue to get more interesting from here on out. To give the rest of the game the focus it deserves, this video is just the first in a series which will continue throughout the next several months. Check back in late February for the next set of tests. This has been Chaotic Teal, and thank you for watching.